So I kind of want to go through with you guys what I am kind of planning on planting this year. So in the comments below, please tell me what you are going to be planting this year for your 2024 garden season. And as always, I appreciate the comments, likes, shares, subscribes, views, all that kind of stuff. Thanks for being here and hanging out with me today. So let's kind of run through this. I actually filmed a video for this a couple days ago, but I didn't like the way it turned out. It kind of rambled on for a while. So I'm going to try to condense this a little bit better. Now this is not going to go into great detail over each of the plants. It is mainly just going to kind of be an overview of a bulk of the things I am planting this year and the different varieties. But I am planning on doing some future videos where we'll take a deeper dive into various varieties, more about them, like planting times, harvest or harvest expectations, maybe some diseases and stuff you might have to contend with, and in some cases might even throw a little bit of history in there on a particular type of plant, vegetable, or variety, because I always like those kinds of things. I always like the backstory to the plants that we're growing. It's good to get to know the history of your plants. All right, so let's start off here. I have several different varieties of tomatoes that I got this year. And that is kind of, we'll just kind of show that like little grouping there. But here's what we are getting. Got tomato, yeah, well we already said it was tomato. Mushroom basket. I have not grown this before, heirloom variety. This is an indeterminate type. If you're not familiar, if you're a new gardener, there's two different types of tomatoes, indeterminate and determinate. Indeterminate means that it will just keep growing and growing and growing. You get really long vines and put off an indeterminate amount of fruit throughout the season until something kills it off, whether it is some sort of blight, insect, drought, or maybe it stays healthy and lasts all the way up until you get frost, and the frost will kill it off. But that's an indeterminate type, whereas determinate will be a specific size plant. Roma tomatoes are a good example of that because they tend to normally always be determinate, and so they will get maybe about 3 feet or so tall, and they put off a determined amount of fruit throughout the season, and then they're kind of done. So you can get indeterminate or determinate. If you are limited on size, get a determinate variety of tomato instead of indeterminate, because indeterminate, unless you keep up with a lot of pruning, will just keep going. So, mushroom basket. That is one that I've not grown before, and we are going to see how that turns out. I'm going to see if that is a good replacement for your standard beefsteak. Another variety that's new to me is the sunrise bumblebee. Now I know a lot of people talk about the sun gold cherry tomato variety and rave about it, and I have actually never grown those. But I saw these, they had good reviews, and so I wanted to try the sunrise bumblebee. Cherokee purple, standard heirloom for me. I've been growing it for several years. One of my favorite slicer tomatoes as well as canning. It's just a delicious tomato. Highly recommend growing this. Now, because of it is an heirloom variety and rather than a hybrid, and so what I found with the Cherokee purples, they do tend to be more susceptible to things like cat facing or some of the blights and funguses. Like they sometimes will succumb to those kind of things sooner than maybe other types of hybrids. But if you can keep your plants healthy, just a delicious tomato that I would highly recommend. Another cherry tomato, Chadwick cherry. I've grown this multiple years in the past. Last year I did try the black strawberry, which was a really cool looking, kind of multicolored cherry sized tomato. But the skins were a little tough and I didn't think the flavor was quite as good as the Chadwick cherry. So I am going back to the Chadwick cherry. And then another new variety for me is the bread and salt. This one got a little crinkled in the package, but bread and salt. So I think this might be similar to another type of beefsteak type tomato? I don't know. I haven't grown these before, so we're gonna find out. We'll find out how it goes this year. Not pictured here, I will probably try to fit in somewhere some Dr. Weechee yellow tomatoes again. I didn't buy any more of those because I still have seeds left over from last year and probably the year before. And they are a awesome yellow tomato, very tasty, just as good as a Cherokee purple, and they seem to be less susceptible to things like blight and fungus. They tend to last longer for me, and they also put off some really big tomatoes. Some of my biggest, sorry, Tink's getting in the way. Some of my biggest tomatoes I've grown have come from the Dr. Weechee yellow. So I've had a couple of 2-pounders. So that's it for the tomatoes. Let's move on to the peppers. California Wonder. This is kind of a standard bell pepper style. Now I know they are red in the picture, but with a lot of varieties of peppers, when you grow them as they get more mature, they'll be green and you can pick them and eat them then, and they're very good. But the longer you leave them on the vine, they might tend to turn colors like orange, yellow, and red. Now, there are certain varieties, of course, of peppers, even like a bell pepper style, like the red Marconi tends to just be a red colored pepper. But with things like California Wonder, they will change colors depending on how long you leave them on the plant. Good producer though, I'm a fan. Poblanos, I grow these every year. I love stuffed poblanos. They have just a tiny bit of kick to them. They're not very high on the Scoville scale. They're similar to an Anaheim pepper, but they are great for stuffing and lots of different dishes. And they have that tiny bit of heat. Like if you ever had chile rellenos at a Mexican restaurant or maybe made them at home, generally you'd probably be making them out of poblanos, but you can also make them out of Anaheims. Jalapeno. This is Craig's Grande. I've been growing this for several years now. I tend to grow both this one and the lemon spice jalapeno, which is also good. Lemon spice jalapenos tend to be smaller. These are a much larger sized jalapeno, but they have your standard jalapeno heat, and they put off a lot. Like, they're high producers. Any jalapenos I've ever grown, the different varieties are high producers. But I like these because they're a little bit on the larger side. I picked up some cayenne long thin peppers this year. It's been a few years since I've grown cayenne, but I like making my own cayenne powder. You can grow these and then dry them, like in a dehydrator or in your oven, or string dry them, and then grind them into a powder and have your own cayenne peppers, or a cayenne pepper powder, instead of having to buy it in the store. And it tastes better. You can kind of control everything about it and don't have to pay the inflation prices because you grew it yourself. Shishito. I've done videos on these before. Fantastic sweet pepper. They're tiny. They're great appetizer type peppers. They're really good. Like, I grilled them and stuffed them with goat cheese, if you saw one of my previous videos, and also made a fermented sauce out of these. I did see a video of a chef that did cream shishito peppers, kind of like you would do a cream spinach, that I thought was interesting. I'm gonna have to try sometime. But they're also great, like when you're just walking around the garden and just pick them straight out of the garden and munch on them while you're walking around. They are a sweet pepper, however, you have a 10% chance of getting one that has some heat. It's kind of like playing Russian roulette a little bit. 1 out of every 10 peppers can possibly have a slight burn to them. It's nothing over the top like that you'd have to be scared of, but occasionally you get one that gives you that burn around the mouth a little bit, But overall, they are a sweet pepper and very tasty. This was a free seed they sent me. I guess that's datil pepper. The thing that got me about the back of this, it says has a vicious heat. So I think this is I'll have to look these up because I don't know where they fall on the Scoville scale, but apparently is a very hot pepper, and probably hotter than what I prefer since I'm more of a mild to medium guy. Jalapenos is kind of The occasional habanero sauce I've had is good, but if it gets too hot where your whole face goes numb, and I prefer the flavor over the high heats. You know, just give me a little bit of kick. I don't need the over the top. But I got friends that love the real hot stuff, so maybe I'll grow some for them. All right, we got all of our greens. I don't remember ordering this at all. I can't even pronounce it. Chijamasai? Chimichanga? I don't know what that is. I don't even know. I don't remember ordering this at all. It says a stunningly new superfood, very tasty, with 4 times as much vitamin A as carrots. A cross between tatsoi and some other plant I can't pronounce. So it says it's both heat and cold tolerant. So we'll see what happens there with those. But I don't remember ordering them. But old standard, the 5-color Swiss chard. I love Swiss chard. This along with beet greens are my 2 favorite greens to eat. And so I always got to plant some Swiss chard. And my Swiss chard seeds, I had some others, but I was getting low because I planted it a couple times last year. And I tend to succession plant these. And so I always like to get some extras. Collards. I have not grown collards before. So I decided to pick up some collard greens. The last 2 years in a row on New Year's Eve, our neighbors on the one side of us brings over to us a New Year's Eve like good luck dinner that includes like pulled pork, black-eyed peas, rice, and this collard green dish that Megan's the wife, that she makes that's like spicy, garlicky, oniony, salty. It's like I could just eat pots of it. It's so good. But she was kind of secretive about the recipe when I was asking for it because I wanted to make some. So I want to see if maybe if I grow some greens and give them some of these collard greens, that maybe that she will trade me the recipe for, or at least show me how to cook it or something in trade for some greens. So I'll keep you updated on that. This one is more I did for, we'll just see what happens. I probably won't plant more than a couple of these. Walking stick kale. I mean, look how tall they are. Dude's like standing on a ladder and he's up at the top of the plant. So I thought it looked kind of cool. We do have a lot of problems with cabbage moss here that will wipe out things like kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, what else? Broccoli, cauliflower. You know, the cabbage moths, they're the pretty white looking, like little mini butterfly looking things that will be flitting about your garden throughout the growing season, but they will lay their eggs on those types of crops, and then when the larva hatches, they will decimate a crop very quickly. So I tend to grow my kale underneath of a hoop bed, which has been on my previous videos, but this isn't going to fit in my hoop bed. So we'll see how that does, if anything turns out from it. I did get one type of bean this year. Most of the time I plant scarlet runner beans, some green beans, and yard long beans, and I have been planting my own beans every year from beans that I save. It's been a while since I normally buy beans, but I wanted to try this. This is purple TP, which is actually a bush variety. So it's kind of, like a green bean, but it's purple. Although I think when you cook them, the purple cooks out like a lot of purple vegetables do. A lot of times after you cook them, they go back to being green. But they look really amazing when you're growing them out in the garden and get like these purple colors out there instead of your standard green bean. Plus they're easier to find on the plant. They don't blend in as much. So these will be treated like a standard bush bean. I have grown purple beans in the past, just not this particular variety. Also, if you're hearing some noise in the background, Abby, one of my dogs, is on the floor snoring very loudly, so I apologize for that. Okay, next, we'll go over a couple of herbs that I got. Dill. I grow dill every year. Now, in the last couple years, because I did a big batch of dill, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, it tends to reseed itself. I collect a lot of the seeds and will save them, but you know, you're always going to miss some. Seeds fall, and they tend to sprout up in random places throughout the garden. So the last couple of years, I have just been harvesting dill from these random spots around the garden. But I didn't really have any seeds left that I hadn't used, or if I do, I probably didn't put them in a place where I can find them. So I decided to buy some more, and I want to kind of start over and get a more centralized dill spot in the garden, or at least choose where they're going to grow. So I did get some bouquet dill, which is the kind that I've normally grown. And then I also, which I had not grown this variety before, elephant dill. And if you see here, that's not actually the plant. These are caterpillars. And you might be thinking, oh, gross. Why do I want to grow something that attracts these caterpillars? Well, in my area, and I'm not sure if these are the exact same thing, but in my area, it's I think it's the black-tail butterfly. No, black swallowtail butterfly, something along those lines. It's a butterfly. It's a really pretty butterfly. It looks kind of like a monarch, except for it's got black wings with orange spots. And that's what these caterpillars turn into. And they do love dill. They will, you know, feed on your dill plants. I've never had a problem with them decimating my crop. It's normally a few here and there that are around, and I let them feed on it because I grow enough dill that I can share that with the local pollinator type plants, or local pollinators, not plants, bugs, insects. But you know, sometimes before they become the beautiful butterfly, they're just a green striped caterpillar and might not look as pretty until they're all done, just like us. Basil. I'm growing the Genovese variety this year. I've grown other varieties like holy basil, Thai basil, purple basil, all different kinds in the past. But just your standard Genovese basil is a good choice. And if you have never tried it, you need to, for one, grow your basil intermixed in with your tomato plants. Supposedly it's supposed to make your tomato plants or your tomatoes taste better. I don't know. I always do it, so I don't have a comparison. But a fantastic summer snack is if you are growing some cherry tomatoes and basil, pick a basil leaf, grab a cherry tomato, wrap the leaf around the basil, pop that in your mouth. It's summer heaven snack in the garden. Just take my word for it and try it out this summer if you haven't done it already. Picked up some more cilantro, slow bolt seeds. I haven't noticed a big difference with the bolting between slow bolt and standard. They all kind of, if it gets too hot, they tend to bolt and go to flower and seed anyway. But I grow cilantro every year. My seed supply was getting low. So I picked up some more seeds. The cat just knocked its whole bowl of food onto the floor on top of Abby, who is sleeping there. So now I've got a big pile of cat food and an upset dog. So I need to go clean that up, and we'll be right back. Okay, back to the herbs after that. There's still a few pieces of cat food left on the floor. I got the most of it, but Abby's eating up some of it, and Tink is also down on the floor eating some of it. So I figured I'll let them clean up the rest of it, and then, you know, we'll see what happens from there. Toothache plant. This is a medicinal plant that I've been meaning to grow for several years now, and I've bought seeds in the past. I probably have more seeds downstairs in some of my seed stores, but I'm really going to try this year to plant it. But this can have herbal and medicinal uses if you want to check it out. And look at those little flowers, I guess you call them, on there. I don't know. I actually don't know a whole lot about this plant. I've read about it a couple of times. I need to do more research, and then we'll do some follow-up videos on it once I get to know it better and I can show you the growing. And then finally, parsley. Just your standard Italian parsley. I always mean to grow this, and a lot of times I don't get around to it. So this year I made sure to pick up a packet of seeds. Picked up some more Globo onions. I just did a video about the Globo onion recently. Good sweet onion. This is my recommendation for if you're growing onions in 2024. This is a long day onion, but they put off really huge bulbs if they're spaced out good. And this will be one of the first things that I'll be starting here in just a few weeks. I normally start my onions around the beginning of February. Couple of root crops. I was getting low on beet seeds. I do have more downstairs, but I picked up some Crosby Egyptian. It's a really good dark red beet that produces really well, germinates well, and also I love beet greens, so this will satisfy my cravings for both of those, for both pickled beets and the greens. Then this is a variety of carrot that they sent me as part of my free seeds. Coral carrot. Haven't grown these before. These look kind of more of a like a shorter version, similar to the new Corota maybe. So we'll see how they turn out. My carrot experience has been off and on over the years. Some years I get tons of just wonderful sweet carrots, and other years they do nothing. So we'll see what 2024 brings for us. Then I got some flowers. First is nasturtium, which is an edible flower. If you haven't grown these before, it's a vining flower. It's very pretty in the garden. You can get different colors and different varieties. This is cherry rose jewel. Both the leaves and the flowers are edible. You can add them to salads, eat them fresh. The leaves kind of have a peppery flavor to them. And then you can, put the flowers on top of salads and other dishes to kind of brighten up, if you're trying to be all fancy schmancy about your whatever meal you're serving, you can put some flowers on that, some edible flowers, and make it nice. Anyway, all right. I got a couple different kinds of zinnia. So I grow zinnia around the borders of my gardens, around my pool, around the greenhouse, different places. Zinnias are great for attracting all kinds of pollinators into your yard and around your garden area, which will also help your garden overall, help getting other things like your squash and whatnot pollinated, tomatoes, whatever. Although tomatoes are kind of self-pollinating, but plants that like cucumbers, squash, those kind of things, you need to have pollinators in your garden. Planting some different types of flowers around will bring those in, and I've found that zinnias are great for that because they attract a wide range of butterflies, moths, parasitic wasps, all kinds of things that bees, bumblebees, honeybees, they all like this kind of thing. And you can get them in all different kinds of colors. They tend to sprout really well. So I've got exquisite, Queenie lemon peach, purple prince. These put off big, beautiful purple flowers. I've grown these the last 2 or 3 years in a row. These are one of my favorites just because of just the big, fluffy purple flowers they put off. And then I also picked up some more celosia seeds. This is another plant that I recommend, or another flower I recommend. This is kind of a multi-colored pack, but you can get them in all different colors. They're very fluffy. A lot of mine this past year bloomed later, and so like late summer I had all these big kind of feathery, fluffy flowers popping up around fence lines and whatnot, and it's really nice. So recommend those as well. And one other one that I don't have the seed packet here I would recommend is coxcomb. Really cool looking flower. They get some like really big heads on them that look like, well, they look like a coxcomb, but they also kind of look like a brain. It's a crazy looking flower, but they're really cool to grow and they're really pretty. So my recommendations for flowers around your yard, if you want the edibles, get the nasturtiums, but then zinnia, celosia, and coxcomb are my 3 favorites. I do others as well. I do wildflower mixes around, and sunflowers and those kinds of things. But just giving you some recommendations there. And then I am trying a new variety of cucumber this year. This is, get it up on this, there we go. Ancash Market? Yeah, Ancash Market. So, hadn't grown this particular variety before. I've grown Boston pickling and I forget the name of the other one that I've been growing for the last couple of years. I should probably remember that, but I don't. But this one had good reviews, and I just decided to try something different. Not because there's anything wrong with the last ones that I've grown, just wanted to try something new. Cabbage. Trying a new cabbage this year, the filterkraut. I don't know if you guys have seen the Baker Creek ads for this. The guy on there, he reminds me of like Matthew McConaughey's stoner cousin, long lost stoner cousin for some reason. But he does a really good job of making a video, like kind of a video ad for filterkraut cabbage. He does some other plant varieties as well. I think he's got a video on tomatoes and some other things too. But he totally saw that ad commercial thing that he did. Really sold me on trying these. I mean, these, instead of your standard round-headed cabbage, look how tall those are. So we'll find out and see how those do and how they taste, but apparently they're supposed to be really good. And so I'm gonna try those this year. And then they sent me some free tiny bok choy. And I grew those last year, but I planted them too late. It was right about the time that the summer heat hit. So once they sprouted, they immediately went to seed, bolted. I did get some pretty yellow flowers off of them, and then got some seed, but I didn't save the seed, and I never got any actual bok choy because they just went to seed. So I'm gonna try it again this year since they sent me some free seeds again. And I'll just plant them earlier this year and see if I can't get myself some good bok choy, maybe make some kimchi or something. And then in the other category, moringa seeds. These are much more of a warmer climate tree plant thing. They have huge amounts of health benefits. I mean, you can eat, add them to salads and whatnot, but they are like one of the only plants, I think, that you can grow that provides every single amino acid that the human body needs. So they have all kinds of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and stuff that are in them. A lot of people have used them for like arthritis and stuff, like the powders. I mean, these are not FDA approved claims, but they've had a lot of health benefits, and people have used, they either eat it fresh or they will dry the leaves and then ground it into powder. We've grown it a couple of times in the past, but because we do have cold winters here, they don't tend to survive. But you can get it to grow to a smaller plant and still harvest some leaves and stuff. And this is a favorite of Mitzi's, so she asked me to pick up another pack. This is probably one of the more expensive seeds that I bought. I think it's like $5 for 10 seeds, which is a little on the pricey side when it comes to seeds. But if you think about it, if you're in a warm climate and you can maintain it to grow over the winter or bring it inside and keep it going, then it's going to keep producing for you for a long time. Has a lot of health benefits, and it's basically is kind of more of a bush or a tree by the time it's done. So I guess maybe if you consider all those options, then maybe the price isn't so bad. So that was it for this little seed haul that I have. You may have noticed there's definitely things missing, things like zucchini, yellow squash, eggplant, cucamelons, potatoes, all those kinds of things, which I will be growing as well. They were just not in this first batch. Also, some of these were just replacements for things I was getting low on and did not save the seeds for in the past. And I still have boxes of seeds downstairs from previous years that I can pull from. And I'm sure there will probably be a couple of other smaller orders that I will either get from Baker Creek, M.I. Gardner. Oh, speaking of M.I. Gardner, I did order a few things from them in the fall. One of which was black radish, which apparently is the new trending thing. I mean, in the past, in backyard gardens for a while, it was all about cucamelons. And then another year was all about shishito peppers. And I mean, you see, I grow those. But what I've been reading recently is that kind of in the last year or two that black radish is kind of making a comeback. And so I did pick up some, I think it's Italian black radish seeds from M.I. Gardner. And that is actually, I think, in this package here. Let me see if he's got a picture on there so I can just show you what it looks like. I do like MI Gardener. They are definitely cheaper than Baker Creek, but one thing I will say, their shipping time is much longer. Like in the fall, I had ordered seeds from both MI Gardener and Baker Creek. I ordered the MI Gardener seeds first and did not order the Baker Creek seeds until like a week and a half later. But my MI Gardener seeds didn't come till 2 weeks after I had received my Baker Creek seeds. So I've run into kind of much longer, like a month long, and before I got my seeds. So plan ahead. They also, I know MI Gardener is a smaller operation than what Baker Creek is. So there's a lot of times where they might not have this, you know, as large of a variety to choose from, and sometimes they run out of stock a lot quicker than Baker Creek does. However, their seeds are way cheaper and they have great germination. They're good quality seeds. It's just, I'm just putting that out there, that be prepared for longer shipping times and that stuff may be out of stock and the selection will not be as large because they are a smaller operation. But still good seeds overall. Here it is, black radish. Come up on there. So that's going to be interesting to grow, since that will be a new one for me. I also got another type of kale from them, broccoli, and Little Fingers carrot is another variety that I got from MI Gardener. So these were just things that I had originally was planning on planting in the fall, but I did order them kind of late, and then they took a month to get here. So by the time I got them, it was too late to put them in. So I just decided to hold on and put them in the spring because they're all cooler weather type varieties of plants. So again, thanks for hanging out with me again today. That's my first seed haul of the year and kind of a preview of what I will be growing this year. So come back for future videos and check out the progress as it goes along. And let me know in the comments what you are growing this year, or if you've grown any of these, tell me what your experiences have been with some of the ones I mentioned that I hadn't grown before. And tell me all about your gardens as well. I appreciate that you are here and checking out my videos. The channel doubled in size last year, which was really cool, and I'd like to do that again. I want to keep it growing, keep the community growing, and being part of this gardening, homesteading community, and sharing our experiences with each other and learning from one another. So I learned probably more from you guys with your comments and emails than you probably learned from me. But at any rate, I hope that you are staying warm in your neck of the woods and that you are planning your 2024 garden. But thanks for hanging out with me again today, and we will see you again soon. Namaste.